I'd like to start this video by showing you my favorite book when I was younger. No, not that one. It's called Charlie the Choo Choo, written by Beryl Evans. And it's about a train who was secretly alive. But oh no, a newfangled diesel train runs the risk of replacing Charlie. And you know what happens when a train with a face fails to be really useful. But it all turns out fine in the end. Something about it, though, has always felt strange to me. For example, why shall I making that face? Why shall I making that face? Why shall I making that face? Why does Bob look like he hasn't slept in 12 days? And why do these kids, who should be screaming in joy, look like they're screaming in fear? Oh yeah, something about this felt off, and I couldn't figure out what it was. That is, until I saw the name of the book's author, Beryl Evans. Wait a minute, who the fuck is Beryl Evans? I've never seen anything else they've written, I've never seen their face! And that's because Beryl Evans is not the author of this book. In fact, the real author of this book is Stephen King, and Beryl Evans is essentially a pseudonym he adopted. This is a Stephen King horror book disguised as a picture book for children. And it does something that I love. Nothing scary actually happens. That seems counterintuitive for a horror book because it's, you know, a fucking horror book. But without the explicit fear of Charlie eating kids or something, I don't know. What we're left with is nothing but an eerie hellscape, putting on a weak facade of being anything else. When I always think of the stuff that I found scary, don't make fun of me. I think about stuff that evokes a fear where nothing is explicitly wrong, but something feels deeply perverted. I think about stuff like Fishmen, where, while the titular Fishmen are pretty scary, the way the film was presented as an overly cheery Christmas song makes me feel gross.
He looks like me. He looks just like me.
I think about stuff like Nurpo, where a manic song is sung about the titular Nurpo, and you immediately get the impression that something about this ugly baby is off.
Nurpo, Nurpo, ha 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 ha, Nurpo, Nurpo, la 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 la.
But most of all, I think of Majora's Mask. I think of MGS2, and I think of Persona 3. But what is it about these games that feels so uncanny to me? What is it about them that evoke the same horror of watching Dan Schneider? Well, I made this video to explore the things about these games where something feels wrong. Part 1, Majora's Mask. Are you gonna talk about it, or... Oh. Right. Pay very close attention to everything going on in this song. This is the song that plays in Majora's Mask's Clocktown area on the final day of everyone's lives before the moon destroys everyone and everything. And as you listen to this song, you can hear the thought of the people playing it as this fact becomes more and more daunting. The melody is just a bit too fast. The same thing is being played over and over again, and while it may be hard to make out over the sound of... you can still hear this. It's like the song itself is trying to drown out this horrible, sickening feeling in the background, but it isn't working. It's haunting, right? The sun's out, the skies are blue, Tingle's still there, for whatever that's worth, and Link still has an untreated hernia. But even so... oh my god, guys, it's the meme, oh my god, wow! There it is, the moon. The thing that's going to end everything in Termina in a matter of days. And all of that is just scratching the surface of what makes Majora's Mask so utterly and hopelessly haunting to me. So let's start from the beginning. You're Link, the hero of time who fought long and hard to save Hyrule and make it back to your child self. Navi left you. Oh no! I'm so sad about that. But after all the things you've been through in your last adventure, including what the fuck, it's safe to say that you're a different person since the CDI days.
I'm so hungry, I could eat an...
So you decide to leave Hyrule in search of something new. You arrive in a dark forest and meet this kid who's a bit of a prick, but... Did you just fucking kill Epona? Majora's Mask is something that no other game in the franchise is. It's actually pretty horrible to Link. For most of the game, Skull Kid is your main antagonist, and he makes his grand entrance by stealing your ocarina, luring you into Ocarina, where, you know, the world's gonna end, and gaming your horse and turning you into a plant goblin. Ganondorf, ha ha ha, was great at antagonizing you, but he never stooped to stripping you of all your power. In Majora's Mask, Link is instantly Kingdom Hearts 2-ified.
Looks like my summer vacation is over.
This is such a great shakeup. The fact that you are forced into your adventure in such a cruel and unfair way makes the game infinitely more compelling in its horror elements. And honestly, it makes the game just that much creepier to me. There may only be 4 dungeons in this game, but all of them are incredible, and slowly devolve into being more and more dark than the last. We start things off simple and innocent, well, relatively, but then things devolve into the Goron starving, Pamela's father being turned into a Gibdo, this fucking cutscene. It's not deep or anything, but I wanted to run around in a green screen for an afternoon, not be traumatized. Something else that I think makes this game scarier is the major graphical improvement it is over Ocarina of Time. The N64 was not nearly as invested in graphics as the PlayStation was.
Hey, plumber boy, mustache man, your worst nightmare has arrived. Pack up your stuff. I got a little surprise for you here. Check it out. What do you think about that? We got real-time, 3D, lush organic environments. How's that make you feel, buddy? Feel a little like your days are numbered?
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
You're hurting my elbow.
But I did have an add-on that drastically improved the graphics of the game that supported it, and Majora's Mask is one of those games. The game may look a lot cleaner thanks to this add-on, but the upgraded quality gives you a sense that this is not going to be your average N64 game. And boy, does the game deliver on that promise. The Moon and Majora's Mask are both genuinely terrifying. Link becoming a Deku actually made me kinda uncomfortable, and someone on the dev team decided to make this the equipped mask animation. And originally, it didn't even have an animation. The thing is, these things wouldn't be nearly as visually striking if it wasn't for this add-on. But more importantly, it wasn't a second mortgage when it came out. And yet, despite all the creepiness, there's a lot of beauty to be found in Majora's Mask, as is the case with any other game in this video. The soundtrack is my favorite in the entire series. Here are some favorite songs of mine. So, yeah, this game is just fucking beautiful. Part 2, Moon. What the fuck is it this time? So before I talk about the main reason why I made this video, I think I need to mention at least something in it you haven't heard of before, if you aren't really into Undertale or my English teacher. Twisted is not what this part of the video is about, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway. Basically, it's Aladdin combined with Megamind, where Jafar is a misunderstood hero, and Aladdin is... he sure is Aladdin. Now, when I first heard that premise, I thought, wow, that sounds really boring and lame. But when you actually watch it, it actually makes some really interesting observations of the original Disney movie and Disney as a corporation. Aladdin is, well, Aladdin because of that one meme that Aladdin says this in a scene of the movie. The entire narrative is essentially a commentary on Disney's relationship with Pixar, and Jafar is a genuinely well-written and Oh my god, I just thought about the genie.
I wish I had $1 million. Hot dog! Okay.
It's genuinely. Oh wait, fuck. Okay. Fuck. It's genuinely funny how the characters in this play just act like Genie is the funniest thing ever, and Jafar is just completely oblivious because he has no idea what the fuck the Genie's talking about. That's peak
I wish I had $1 million. Hot dog!
They didn't just flip the movie on its head and call it a day. They fundamentally changed it to improve on the original. And I pretty much feel the same way about Moon. The premise is, a kid plays an RPG, and when somehow sucked into it, he finds out that the character he's been playing as isn't that good of a guy. Now, this premise seems like some pretentious video game violence bad message, but it's actually just a really good adventure game that doesn't talk down to you and just portrays a story about learning to get love. Huh. Does that remind anybody else of something? The things I love about this game, though, are the opening and ending, so I mainly want to touch on those. The opening does something I think is really smart. It forces you to play through the actions of the hero before revealing them to be the villain. And it does this through the framing device of you playing as the boy as he plays through the game he'll inevitably get sucked into. But, wait a second, I didn't do anything bad. Those villagers let me take from them. That dog was going to attack me, even though it didn't do anything. Oh. Whatever. How bad could I be? See, I even almost defeated the evil villain before my mom sent me to bed because she doesn't understand what it takes to be a fucking gamer! And also because it's 5 AM. But the thing about this opening is that just by playing it, you can tell that something's wrong. It quickly begins to feel like a perverted form of an RPG. They aren't gonna make you go into someone's house and take their clothes, and you begin to realize that the world of Moon in actuality is entirely different from how it's portrayed in the game. But still, you made the choices of the hero that led to their actions when you got sucked in, and when they turned out to be bad all along, now you're gonna deal with the consequences of your actions like a fucking adult, Timmy. Now, I know this is an odd premise for a game, but it's actually quite easy to wrap your head around. Just imagine Undertale, but if you clone Frisk, so now there are 2 Frisks. But imagine that one Frisk is Mercy Frisk, and one Frisk is No Mercy Frisk. So now you play as Mercy Frisk, and you try to stop No Mercy Frisk. It's like that. Anyway, now that you're done finding items, making friends, and bringing monsters back from the dead, you know, as you do, it all pays off with a really smart ending that just tells you to get out into the world and embrace love. After the ending, you'll see an image of the TV where this whole adventure started, the night you decided to play a little game called Moon, both in real life and within the context of the game itself. How cool is that? I may be reading too far into it, but whatever, I think it's cool. But displayed over this image is game over style text asking you if you want to continue. Actually, gaming logic would dictate that you need to select the yes command or else risk getting a game over. But the true ending is to say no. I'm not gonna continue. I'm gonna go outside and experience real love. Like, it's basically the game poetically telling you to touch grass, and that's epic. But this whole game was trying to show you that you can find love anywhere. You started this adventure playing an RPG, but when you're sucked into the game itself, that's where real love lies. That's where you talk to people and bond with them and make a difference in this fictional world. And now, it's your turn to make a difference in this real world. In conclusion, Moon does a great job at turning the RPG formula on its head to tell an original story. And I think that a certain other game does that too. Just, only this time, a little bit better. Part 3, Persona 3. Oh god. Persona 3 Fez is the most thematically rich work of art I've ever seen. And I say that as someone who's rewatched Opal like 58,004 times, at least. I have a lot to say, but I guess I'll start off with this. Usually, when I play an RPG, I'm picking up the chest for 100% completion. The items are a nice bonus, but I'm doing it for that 100%, baby. In Persona 3 Fez, I'm picking up the chest, I'm shopping at the stores, I'm doing the quests, and I'm working on my stats. Not for the sake of seeing a percentage, but because I've grown to be so invested in this second life. Because more than any other game I've played or seen, Persona 3 is about living through a life. It's about living through a life full of some... What the fuck? The thing that makes Persona 3 scary to me is that normal life that you live out in between all of that. Persona 3 Fez is so horrifying and heartbreaking because it forces us to play through the daily life that precedes all of this. This ultimately results in a game that takes its time, and I'm gonna take inspiration from it. This is gonna be a long part of the video, I have a lot to say, but I guess I'll start by getting you up to speed with the basic premise. Makoto Yuki is a student attending a new school in the big city. He walks out of the train into the bustling streets, and then... Anyway, I'm sure that's fine, so he walks into his dorm. He's acquainted with the local gremlin, and then meets a girl who... I'm sure that's fine. He soon finds out that the people in this dorm are actually members of the Specialized Extracurricular Execution Squad, or SEAS for short. They're a team trying to uncover the secrets of the Dark Hour, a 25th hour of the day after midnight. Only some people are able to perceive it, but if you aren't granted the mercy of being put in a coffin when the Dark Hour comes along, I'm sure that Makoto and the members of SEAS are unfortunately able to experience the Dark Hour. However, Makoto learns that he and the team have the potential to summon a badass deity called a Persona, and use it to fight off the shadows that inhabit the world during the Dark Hour. But also, experiencing the Dark Hour without a Persona makes you vulnerable to apathy syndrome, because I can't imagine that this will be too good for your mental health. Apathy syndrome is becoming a prevalent issue, essentially turning people into Bill Maher's perception of anyone under the age of 50. But by exploring Tartarus, a sprawling dungeon that appeared during the Dark Hour, you might just find a way to put a stop to it. And now you begin the game, leading the team as you assemble forces of Tartarus, defeat shadows with your friends. Guys, the AI is not that bad. And grind for sweet, sweet experience. But why do we need to grind exactly? Well, every month, a big boss shadow will appear during the Dark Hour. And when that day comes, you essentially have no choice but to beat the shit out of it. So make sure that you're ready by then. Okay, so that was a lot of shit to get through, but don't worry if you don't understand things that well yet. This is information the game gives you throughout the first 5 or so hours. It's definitely not designed to be vomited at you by a clean-shaven child. Anyway, I just think this game is so great because, well, it's an in-depth exploration of loss. The game forces you to progress through your daily life, dealing with the Dark Hour and being a high school student at the same time. And there's no going back when the game eventually decides to move a plot along. The next story event isn't triggered by you walking into the boss arena after spending 20 hours doing side quests. It's triggered by this game's central game mechanic, the passage of time. I failed to bring this up until now, but there's quite a lot of different things you can do in Persona 3. There are social links to progress, giving you XP bonuses when fusing new personas. Basically, hang out with someone, the personas assigned to the Arcana will get more experience when you make one. Simple. Persona 5 would go on to take this idea further, but in Persona 3, a high-level persona is pretty valuable. There are also social stats to rank up, where certain levels give you new activities, including new social links. And finally, there's Tartarus, which takes up the evening and late night time blocks. You can spend as long as you want exploring Tartarus, but when you come out, the day is over, no matter what. So here's the kicker. Every time you do anything in this game, time passes. This is an unwavering guarantee. There's daytime or afternoon, evening where you can explore Tartarus, and late night where you can study or go to bed to improve your condition. And when those 3 time blocks are over, it's time for the next day. Yes, you can spend as long as you want grinding in Tartarus, but that's going to become more and more dangerous as your party members begin to get sick and tired. You're going to have to leave eventually and accept the passage of time, as yet another day approaches until that looming deadline. Sooner or later, you gotta stop being a little gremlin and get ready to prepare for the next shadow. It's coming for you eventually, as well as some very heavy trauma. You people need a hug. Days pass until the full moon, and then you gotta make it through so you can see for next month. But I think that the thing I dread the most when I play this game is the ending. And no, That's not just because the ending is sad, that's because the ending exists in the first place. Now, yes, most games have a definitive ending to the narratives, and Persona 3 is no different. But usually, you can always go back from it. You always have time after you beat the campaign to go back and do whatever else you were missing out on. Hell, some games have content you can only access after you beat the main campaign. Persona 3 doesn't work like that at all. Sure, you can go back to a previous save before the final boss, but there's really no time to do anything else anymore. You can't just do the rest of the social links now or anything. That would take too much time. You're at the end of the game now, and you need to accept that it's over. This is a game with optimistic themes of life, death, and loss, and it uses every facet of its game design to tell that message. I'll definitely get more into yapping about this game someday. I've just scratched the surface, really. But the way it presents itself as a game where you go day by day and experience both the mundane, the intense, and works wonders in telling a mature and optimistic story about loss. So, yeah. This game is incredible, and I couldn't think of a better one to talk about to end this video. But, fuck it, NGS 2. Part 4. Metal Gear Solid 2. I feel like I'm gonna get jump scared.
You'll ruin your eyes playing so close to the TV.
I'm sure many of you have heard your parents say something along these lines before. Usually, you'd throw the suggestion off as them just being annoying and then move on with your day. But when that statement is made by a character in Metal Gear Solid 2, you immediately realize that something is horribly wrong. But even that piece of dialogue pales in comparison to the now infamous—
Turn the game console off right now.
What did you say?
The mission is a failure. Cut the power right now.
But before I can talk more about this infamous moment in gaming history, we need to discuss two things: the codec and fourth wall breaks. A fourth wall break is simply when a fictional character acknowledges the existence of an audience or the fact that they are indeed fictional. Anyway, fourth wall breaks get a bad rap, and for good reason. They're usually creatively bankrupt, and the joke almost always boils down to, hey, we aren't real. Please laugh. They were cute and funny back when the idea of a fourth wall break was new to me, but now they get nothing but an eye roll. Except, there's one use for fourth wall breaks that I haven't mentioned yet. They can also be used to get on an intimate level with the audience and scare them. In the MGS series, the codec mechanic is an important addition to the game. They're basically just used as a more cost-effective way to tell you about the story. But being able to take a breather and talk to your team is really calming, and fuck that, now you dread the thought of getting a call. After the initial message, something changes. For one, you are now being called on the codec near constantly as President Baker rambles at you. His dialogue soon devolves into being utterly nonsensical, but what I found strange was the complete lack of writing responding to President Baker in these conversations. Has he decided to let him ramble? Does he not know what to say? Or maybe this is President Baker talking to you. But hey, it's genuinely horrifying as you're called randomly over and over as a haunting yet unpredictable song is blaring for your TV. Okay, now for the conclusion. Oh yeah, baby. I'm so done with this video. So, I think the things that make these games feel scary is this uncanny juxtaposition between playing your average video game and being faced with horror. There are many reasons why we play video games, but I think it's undeniable that one of them is the power fantasy. Horror is kind of the antithesis of that because it usually tries to make you feel powerless. But the uncanny juxtaposition between the power of video games and the inherent powerlessness of horror, I think is where these games begin to get scary. We see this horror in its full swing with MGS2's climax, Moon's opening, and pretty much the entirety of Majora's Mask and Persona 3. So, I guess that's it. Goodbye. :3. Oh my god. Okay, it's done. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that, everyone. Yeah. Oh god. Okay, so, yeah, first thing I want to say is that there were like a ton of games that I could have talked about that like I realized, oh, that could have been great for this video, but I just forgot. So, you know, I guess like possible part 2, like Amori, Yume Nikki, that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, bye. Wait, also, subscribble.